I made a video earlier. It's 8/8/2022, but I made my long video. It's like 25 minutes long. I said, I got to end this thing. But there's so many things I want to talk about. I should break these up. I said, I need to break these up into smaller videos and talk. But I get rambling and I get going 10 different directions. And Seaspiracy, I mentioned at the end of that video. I watched a documentary on Netflix. The New York Netflix. No, Netflix. I watched a video. It's called Seaspiracy. And I had it on my playlist for a long time. I like documentaries, and I hadn't watched it. And I said, I'm going to watch this. I'm not sure 100% what it's about. Started watching it, and it kind of started off with, why are these dolphins getting killed? And then, in Japan, and it led to other things. This reporter, he went to different places, and he followed the story where it led him, and where it led was how the seas are being just massively overfished. And I hadn't realized it was this bad. I mean, you hear about it. Oh, we're just, no more dolphins. There's no more, this and that. Tuna's getting eaten up. And I mean, I had not realized the sheer number of it, of how it's being overfished. And it's just amazing. And it goes back to the centralization of power. That's why I'm into cryptocurrency, because the centralization of money is a big problem. That's allowed these governments to just create money at will and start and fund wars with really not having to work for it. They just create the money. And the only reason it works is because we allow it to work. We give that money power and we use it. But you see where that gets us. I mean, this hyperinflationary environment we're about to go into, it's just, it devalues us because they just print more and more of it. And then what we have doesn't store our energy, doesn't store our value, and it gets eroded. That's why I like things like Litecoin with a finite supply. And what happens is, this industry is the same way, this whole, fishing industry, to where you've got massive just killing machines out there. I mean, these boats are just go out there and they just haul in so much fish. And you look at the numbers of certain populations of fish, and they've dropped by 95%, 99% in some cases. It's starting to rain. I'm under a tree right now. You just got some off and on sprinkles today. But it's just, it becomes unsustainable is what really happens. And it has knock-on effects. All these boats that go out there and, they have these big nets and they haul in these fish. Well, the thing is, you're not just be able to just throw out like a bluefin tuna net, and that's the only thing that gets into it. No, a lot of other creatures get into it, and they're called it's like a bycatch, like a byproduct. And so you'll have dolphins get caught in it, and they just get killed and thrown in. And you look at the sheer numbers of the creatures, the species that are getting killed in these nets because they're unwanted. Because, hey, I'm just going for bluefin tuna because that's where the big money is. And if these other things get caught in the net, oh, well, throw them back. We don't need it. And they get wasted. And that's the big thing I have a problem with. Wasting life, wasting food, but it doesn't matter because it's all about, catching that one thing and then just, catching it till it's gone. And then what does that have? What kind of effect does that have on the food chain then? Because the bigger fish, the sharks, these other things, they're eating these, and then that population's not there anymore. So what do they eat? They start dying off. The whole food chain gets disrupted, and your ecosystem just gets way out of balance. Next thing you know, you got coral reefs dying. And the thing is, though, they paint it as, well, it's global, it's climate change, it's global warming, it's this and that. But then you look at it, and it's like, well, wait a minute. You're disrupting the biggest ecosystem on the entire planet that actually regulates the environment, helps moderate the world temperatures. And when you're taking species out of there, it throws everything out of whack, and it affects us. And it's because of just the not living in moderation, moderation in all things. Because it's one thing to, you live on an island, you go out and fish, and, you support the local population. It's just like growing here. When you just grow corn on corn on corn on corn, you just deplete the minerals out of the soil, and then you've got to put in nitrogen. You got to just chemically spray stuff on there to make it work, because it's not really a sustainable environment. That's why they have crop rotation. You're supposed to plant, a certain crop, and then it feeds certain nutrients in and takes others, and then you put another crop in the next year. And then you got to let the land rest. You should, at some point, just for a year, a season, to replenish itself. But when you're just planting the same crop, using the same thing over and over again, like corn, for instance, I mean, you can see it right back there. That's all they plant. I mean, massive corn around here. I think it's the second biggest, Illinois is the second biggest producer of corn, I think. Iowa's first. But that's subsidized by the government. The government says, plant all the corn you can, and then they put it into all these foods, and they use it, and it goes into gasoline, it's ethanol, and you're picking winners and losers, but you're creating an unsustainable environment by doing that, because that's not the way nature works. And the same thing in the fishing industry. You take out one whole population of fish, it disrupts the whole ecosystem. And that's what this movie's about, this documentary is about. It's really good. I liked it, and I just wanted to talk about it, but it ties into everything that's happening right now, to where we're just going to completely take whatever we need, decimate it, and then lie about it. Say, it's dolphin-free tuna. No, it's not, because there's a bunch of dolphins that get caught in the net and die. But they have this stamp of approval on cans, and it goes into, it's because they're connected to this and connected to the fishing industry. It's just this big club again, where they're just robbing all the resources. And, we think, shoot, dolphin's cheap. Dolphin's cheap. Tuna's cheap. It goes in a can. It's like we think it's an unlimited supply. And it is if you do it right. But when you massively take it all out of the environment and it doesn't have a chance to replenish itself because you're taking it out way faster, it becomes very unsustainable. And it's really kind of shocking, the numbers and just what has happened to our oceans and what we're doing to it. And it's just because, you look at the spice trades, hundreds of years ago, to where Europe goes over to the Middle East and then Asia, and they bring in these new things they never had, and they're like, I need more of that. Europe, England used to be addicted to sugar. It's like, I can't grow sugar cane here. Once they found out about it, it's like, sugar and everything. We need sugar, sugar, sugar. And what's that do, though? Well, now we need to have a bunch of slaves to raise all this sugar. So we got to import them and disrupt that whole continent, and do this. And tobacco the same way. And everybody wants it. And then it becomes unsustainable because you just overproduce it, you overfarm it, you overcatch it. And that's the problem that I think not all of us realize. When that breaks down, it's too late. I mean, it's kind of a rigged game to where it's like, hey, everything's great. We're going to go out there and we're going to just overfish it, and kill all these other animals in the process and not use them. You look at what Native Americans did, or at least, the myth behind the Native Americans. They kill a buffalo, they'd use the whole thing. It wasn't, we just need this. It's like shark fins. They'll go out and kill all these sharks just for the fins, because it's shark fin soup's a delicacy in certain parts of Asia. And so you just throw the rest of the animal away. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You use the whole animal. Why are you doing this? Well, it's because they can get away with it, and governments kind of just let it go. And, it's this big money system to where everybody's making profits, but at some point, won't be making any more profits. They'll move on to the next thing they can rape and pillage, because, all the sharks are gone. All the bluefin tuna's gone. All the salmon's gone. And so they'll move on to something else. But the damage, the repercussions of that are devastating. Now, Earth has a way of replenishing itself and healing. It also has a way of lashing back, when you do bad things. And it's kind of that karmic connection that we have to it. And we've got to understand that and be good stewards of the continent. No reason for people to starve and, pay carbon credits because you're doing bad things. I mean, you look at the ocean, it's like the biggest carbon CO2 sink, it just absorbs so much of it. And so much of, our planet is rejuvenated through the oceans. But when you're killing off the ocean and the whole food chain in the ocean, you create these other problems that you say, well, it's man-made. Yeah, indirectly, but it's not from the automobiles. It's from what you're doing in different ways, and they just spin it, and turn it on its head so they can control you and say, well, you need to be taxed on carbon credits, buy your carbon credits. So rather than looking at the source of the problem, so it's a good documentary, but it gets you thinking about, you used to have farms to where it was very self-sustainable, to where you'd have the animals and, the fertilizer from the animals. And, it was a nice little mini ecosystem to where everybody could provide for themselves, but it took work. It was a job. It was a full-time job. And so we've kind of outsourced that to centralization now, because we've got efficient devices and things that, and money, that can be printed at will, and it funds all these things. And it's just, at some point, we got to take a hard look at where we've gone, where we're at, and you know what? Maybe you can't get bluefin tuna in Illinois. Maybe we're going to have to eat something else that's produced here locally, because our supply chains obviously are breaking down. And that's why we have all these high prices. You know, it's because of supply chain issues. So I mean, you know, we just got to take a look at it, and it'd be better to eat more local, I think, just from the standpoint of, I kind of have this belief that the earth will provide for you what you need where you're at. I think I've used this example before, but you know, all purslane grows here wild. People look at it, oh, that's a weed. You know, dandelion grows here all the time, but those are very nutritious things, and the earth produces it. And you start thinking, well, maybe it's something I actually should be intaking, and something, you know, nutrients that I need. And instead of calling it a weed, look at it for what it is, because you know, we try and find food in all these exotic places when it's like right there provided for you, and you just pick it up and eat it, and you got all you can eat. So it's, I just think we got to have a different mindset and think that, you know, the way things have been done for so long really haven't worked very well, I should say. I keep thinking of the silver market. You know, there's only so much silver to go around, but the price is manipulated because that silver doesn't necessarily change hands physically. It just does it on paper, but there's not enough if everybody wanted the silver that they've got a contract to, or what they think they own. And so they and then what happens is, at some point when you need the silver, it's not there. It's like, what's the price of it? It's the same with these animals. You know, they're going to run it out, and at some point you won't have any tuna. Oh, well, it's gone. What do you mean it's gone? I thought there was plenty of tuna. You know, we're getting it every day, you know. Well, it's gone. And so you're living under this illusion that everything just, you know, magically fixes itself and there's plenty to go around, but there really isn't. And one day you just wake up and it's gone. Hey, there's no more silver. Okay. Hey, there's no more salmon. Okay, what happened? So I don't know. We just got to take a look at how we're doing things. And I mean, the centralization of power in industry, and how they cover up all the sins that they're doing. You know, and I'm no bleeding heart. Trust me, I'm not one that goes in and, I mean, it's just, we've got to focus and look at the truth for what it is. And it's, you know, we only have so much time here, and, you know, to be wasteful, to lie, and, you know, we just need the truth. It's like our money. We need truth protocols. We need something like Litecoin. We need something like Bitcoin. Litecoin for me is a better solution. It's a better option than Bitcoin. But, you know, hey, we all have our choices. You know, some people like salmon, some people like tuna. Some people like corn, some people like beans. Too much corn. We need exotic things. You know, you need like little boutique farms, you know, instead of just all this, you know, corn everywhere. Genetically modified and sprayed, and I mean, what it takes to do that. But, you know, it's feeding the world. But is it giving them any nutrition? Is it giving them anything that they need? I don't know. Just some rambling thoughts, you know. But no, check out that Seaspiracy is a pretty good one. It makes you think about a lot of things and how things are done, how things really work. And I don't know. It kind of changed my mind a little bit. You know, there are some things in there that I just did not realize. And to me, if I can get the truth, that just allows me to make better decisions. And I think we should all search for the truth and go to the source. You know, find that source. Don't look at it secondhand. Don't believe me, you know, what I ramble on and say. You know, go do some research on your own and take a look at it and come to your own conclusions. And I think if we all did that, I mean, we're all pretty like-minded and, you know, respectful and love the earth and love humanity, and most people are good. And I think if given the right information, the truth, I think we would act a little bit differently. But we live in a world of deception, to where there are people, vampires essentially, that just want to steal our energy. And if they have control of all the levers, all the media, all the government, they're going to give us whatever lie they want to give us to make us believe a certain way. They control the schools. Just got to start thinking for ourselves and be critical thinkers, and do our own research and go to the source of the information rather than listening secondhand, thirdhand. You know, go to the source and realize what's going on. So That's just what I wanted to say. Go check out that documentary. I think it's good. I've been curious what your feedback is, what y'all thought. If you watch it, it's on Netflix. And I know a lot of people don't like Netflix, but I mean, you take the good with the bad. There's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of bad shows out there, but it's a tool. Just like this platform I'm on right now, broadcasting out, and it's a, I don't know if it's necessarily broadcasting, you know, that's a different term, but it's sending the beam out over this form of this medium, and yeah, it's censored. Yeah, I mean, a lot of decisions are made that a lot of people don't agree with, but it's a platform that allows us to get a lot of information out that wouldn't have gotten out before. So everything's a weapon, everything's a tool. It's just how you use it. But I'd be curious if you check out that documentary, Seaspiracy, Seaspiracy, on Netflix. Pretty good, I thought. All right, just want to talk about that a little bit. All right, I love y'all. Trust yourselves. Go to the source. Source is in here, right? Thanks for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day.